Welcome to another episode of Talking About Records. My name is G.I. Sanders from NTX Vinyl, which is a small chain of independent record stores in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. If you don't already subscribe on YouTube or follow on Instagram, follow on Facebook, please do that. Really appreciate it. We also have an online shop, ntxvinyl.com, which you can check out if you're looking to pre-order or order new records. But today's episode is a special one because for the first time on Talking About Records, I don't have to just talk to the camera. I'm actually going to talk to a real person, which is super exciting. I'm going to call this kind of a little episodic series, some of my favorite records, but it's not going to be my favorite. I'm actually going to have a guest, which is, again, incredibly exciting. So we are going to get into it here with an old friend of mine who I'm super excited to have as the first guest on this this little series. Let me welcome in my good friend, John Humphrey. John, how are you, bud?
Good, man. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Well, yeah, this is cool, man. It's been, not to get into the weeds, but we've known each other a long time, both coming from the music scene here in Dallas, and obviously yourself being up in Oklahoma. We've crossed paths in a number of different ways. And I'm glad that now it's kind of reconnecting on the vinyl front, which funnily enough, I don't even think we really talked about too much back in the day when we were
right. That's right.
But that was a long time ago, and it was a different time. So we can kind of revisit that a little bit. But before we get into the records, so the key here is that you're going to show off some of your favorite records. And we were just talking off camera, and you were saying how difficult that was.
Very difficult. You said to pick 10, and it was so hard. It was so hard.
I'm super excited to see what you picked. I have no idea what it is. We didn't do any pregame here, so I'm going to see it live with everybody else. So before we dive into that, though, I do want to give a little bit of historical context, not only on record collecting, because I do want to get into that. But first and foremost, talk to us about your musical career. You've been with Seether now almost 20 years, I think.
Yeah.
You guys have the greatest hits coming out. I mean, did you ever think you'd be in a band that would have a greatest hits?
No.
Cool.
No. Yeah. It's very
cool,
cool and surreal. And trust me, man, we've been doing this. We've known each other long enough. I don't take it for granted. I really don't. I feel truly blessed. One of the most fortunate human beings on the planet to be able to do what I love for a living. And I'm still playing drums after all these years. And it's awesome.
That's awesome, man. So Seether has been what you've been obviously busy with for 20 years, an amazing career with a rock band who is just so established in the kind of hard rock, heavy rock, active rock scene. Prior to that, even though, there was a little extent where we got to play together in my little band called South FM, which was fun. But going back further was the Nixons, which now are active again. So talk to us about the Nixons and that activity.
Right. So we were all from Oklahoma and really pretty much broke out of the Dallas music scene. Such a great music scene in the 90s, man, playing Trees and Curtain Club. And as you know, all those great venues. And so, we kind of went our separate ways about the year 2000 or so. And obviously then I joined Seether. And we always kept in touch. Anytime I played Oklahoma City, Jesse would come out. If I were in Nashville, Zach would come out. We always kept in touch. And then 2017, I guess the stars sort of aligned themselves and our schedules aligned themselves. And we were able to do a couple of reunion shows. We did Edge Fest in Dallas, which was awesome because we did some of the early ones going way back. And then a great show in Oklahoma City. And then that slowly snowballed into new music and to doing some more shows. And so, anytime I'm available and Zach's available, we're able to do shows. We'll do shows. In fact, we'll play in February. We'll go to St. Louis. We'll play a show. But I think the last time the Nixons played Dallas, you probably met my oldest son. He plays drums, Jackson.
I was there,
and he'll fill in for me and does an amazing job. And anyway, so if I'm not able to do it, then Jackson steps right in. We keep it in the family, literally. And he does an amazing job. And then, and he'll be with the Nixons, the Nixons next generation.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very cool sitting side stage at that show at Trees, which was long story short, kind of a show for my label, which is the DFW Legacy series, where we put out the first Nixons EP. And so we got some bands together, including my own, and Nixons were on that show, but you were on tour with Seether. So sitting side stage watching your son play the drums. It was pretty uncanny. His style with yours, it fits so well. He's got his own vibe, obviously, but there's a lot you've passed down, and it shows, and it's cool.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, he's amazing. It's amazing to watch your kids get into music, right? I mean, I've seen your son. It's so cool to be able to pass that love on. And literally, I didn't push either one of my kids into music. They both found it. My youngest, Jed, he's 17, bass player, plays guitar. Awesome. It's just great to see it happen. I really didn't push it on them. Of course, they've been surrounded by it since the moment they landed. Yeah, I just couldn't help it. But it's really cool to see that happen and be passed on to your kids.
Absolutely, man. So if you weren't busy enough with two bands, let's talk about your radio show that you do, Turntable Touche. I'd love to hear a little bit of how that started, and that can bridge us into kind of your collecting, and then we can get into the show and tell.
Yeah. So in Oklahoma City, there's a radio station here called The Cat, and I'm good friends with the program director. He was a DJ going way, way back, played the Nixons in the early days on the radio, Jake Daniels. And anyway, really it was the pandemic, right? So I'm home from the road, not able to tour. And Jake and I are good buddies, and he's a vinyl collector, I'm a vinyl collector. And we would, when I was on the road and things were normal, I was picking up stuff, and we take pictures of stuff, send it to each other. Look at this, man. Wow, you got that. Do you have this? So anyway, he hit me up and was like, look, you can't be on the road. Do you want to do a radio show? I'll call it Turntable Touche. We each play 5 songs, and we try to one up each other sort of with our collections, so he'll pick certain themes. Like this last weekend was our favorite cover songs, bands that did cover versions of songs that are some of our favorites, So something like that. So that started every weekend. It's Sunday mornings, all through the pandemic. And then I've been home from the road since the end of October, and he's asked me to come back. We've just done a few shows, and in fact, we'll do another one next weekend.
Awesome.
But yeah. So that's with the Cat. They have an app. It's KATT. They have an app, and then cat.com live. You can listen.
Download.
Yeah. So it's Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. Anyone who wants to check it out.
Love it, man. Well, I'll put the link in the YouTube video, and when this goes to the other channels, we'll make sure and put that there. So
awesome.
So let's talk a little bit about your collecting. I'd love to hear the history. Again, we've known each other 20 years. We didn't really talk about it back in the day.
Right.
And so I'd love to hear kind of that ramp and how you got to that wall behind you.
Sure. So vinyl was the first thing I got into as a kid. I mean, my first records were vinyl, and so I know a lot of people. I've watched your channel, and I know a lot of people during the heyday of CD and the late 80s and 90s got into CDs, which I did as well. But I was one of those that I never sold my vinyl. I never got rid of the collection I have. My wife, we've moved many times over the years and hauled that pain in the ass record collection. It's only grown, especially in the last, I would say, 8 to 10 years. I loved touring all the way back to the Nixon days. I would hit, used record shops, and I saw the arc. I saw all these cool mom and pop record shops with a few, bins of LPs to almost no LPs, to mom and pop record stores being gone, to them coming back.
They're back.
and yes, and it's just it's amazing. And I've stuck through and have kept the vinyl, and now I'm just so happy to see that it's just, it's just come back in such an amazing way. I just love it. And so I've been along for the ride the whole time.
Yeah. It's been incredible to see it come full circle, because our timelines are pretty similar. We're about the same age, and everything you just said is pretty much the same trajectory. Like, of course you bought CDs. You had to take them with you in your car. They were fantastic. But at the same time, I would pick out with, my lunch money or whatever I had. And if it was an album I really loved, then I'd rip the CD from a friend so I could buy the record and just keep the record in my room. And, you start out small because you don't have a lot of money when you're a kid, but as you travel along, as you get older and you start to really appreciate it, it builds up quickly. So we're in the same boat. Luckily, I don't think I've moved as many times, thankfully, knock on wood.
That's good
to haul it around. But Well, cool, man. So let's look at some records. I think that's why people are going to watch. So I hope
Okay.
we took 10 minutes getting into it, but hey, that's how it rolls when you haven't hung out with a buddy in a long, long time. So
Yeah.
when I told you pick out some of your favorite records, give me the criteria. What were you thinking? Were you thinking like monetary value? Were you thinking like, special to you personally? Tell us a little bit about your mindset as you roll into this.
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit of all of those things, right? First and foremost, I will say the music is what it's all about. That's why I'm into vinyl. That's why I'm into collecting. I have a turntable. I listen to it every morning, cup of coffee, and I put on a record or two, and I love it. And so I will say the basis of all these that I'm about to show you, it's music first and foremost.
Absolutely.
But there is some favorites. Just in terms, collectability does come into play, and you'll see the reasons maybe why when I show them. But I easily, yes, you can go into your Discogs and you can go, okay, what's my most valuable record, and go down, and you're just like, well, that maybe not. You know what I mean? It's just like
that's a different video series.
That's a different, exactly. That's not really necessarily. Yeah, this is my most valuable record in terms of value, money value, but some things are just personal, and just
that's
why I love them.
That's where I suspected you would go, but I didn't want to give you any guidelines. Like, it was wide open, and so, like I said at the beginning, like, I'm excited to see these just as much as everyone else.
Yeah, and being a record store owner, I thought you would appreciate a lot of these. I grabbed in the wild, and they had little stories attached to them, and I thought that would, those are make more, more interesting, content than just,
I mean, when you
I paid a lot of money for this or whatever.
When you buy a record online, it shows up at your, front door. Like, that's cool, you got the record, but you don't remember that. Like, you remember when you bought it at Amoeba in San Francisco, or some little record shop in Chicago or New York. So I totally hear you there. More stories, the better, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's count them down. What do you got? No particular order, I assume, or
right? So no particular order here. I just these are the 10 that I've got right now, and this could have changed by tomorrow. You know what I mean? This is so I finally had to just stop and go. All right, okay. So that's what I'll do. Okay, so I'll start with this. This is Van Halen's first album. Yeah, huge Van Halen fan. This was, the band for me. And there's a record store here in Oklahoma City. It's called Trolley Stop. And he was able to acquire the collection of a music critic that worked at the Daily Oklahoman for 35 years. Massive collection and a lot of promos, which I love promos. White label or gold stamp or whatever. I really love promos. So he had this, and saw the Warner Brothers pink, promo sticker there on the front of Van Halen's debut.
Already, I'm sure.
Which I love this album. I mean, this is hands down one of the greatest debuts in rock and roll history. But what was also cool about it is that along with that promo, it had a little press kit in it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So let me get.
So is that like the letter? I've seen some of these before. Is that like the letter from Warner Brothers trying to get retail to promote the album, something along those lines?
Right, and just talking about it, somebody at the label who's trying to explain how the music sounds, what the band is like,
Good luck.
According to Webster's, rock and roll is, quote, a kind of commercial jazz music based on blues and characterized by strong, regular beat. But as every mother's child knows, the hardcore ethic demands cars, girls, beers, and good times.
Great segue into Van Halen 1.
Van Halen. And a cool, early sort of promo pic there, too.
That's great.
So that was inside. I love that stuff. What's that?
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, Warner Brothers. So cool.
And so that's a white label promo?
That actually is just a standard.
Or is it just a stamp? Okay.
Yeah, it's just the palm tree label.
Right on.
Not a white label, just the sticker on the front and that bio.
Great, though. Adds so much character when it's got the little promo sticker, and especially some inserts like that, which didn't come with the retail version. That's a true, like you said, from a radio label person. So that's very cool.
And what's cool is he had some other stuff where you would pull it out, and he had made notes on a pad, like he was listening to it and he was reviewing it as he would go. So I found handwritten notes. He was, taking notes of listening to something, and I guess for what he would go back and put into his article, as he was listening to it. So I thought that was kind of neat. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You find inside.
Any kind of personalization always makes it unique, as long as it's not written all over the cover. We all know those.
Exactly. Exactly. Or the radio station call letters, real black,
real big on the cover and black marker. Yeah. I love those, sure.
Absolutely. So when I was a senior in high school, man, I went through a huge Jimi Hendrix phase. I don't know what it was. I used to go to a video store and rent every weekend the movie Jimi Hendrix. And it was just this, it was sort of a documentary. I think it was from the 70s.
Okay.
I would rent this thing every weekend, watch it, and just became obsessed with Jimi Hendrix, and then started getting into the music. I loved especially the albums with the Experience. So I love the first three, Are You Experience, Axis, and this one, Electric Ladyland, is one of my favorites. And again, it's a promo, which was cool because I found this in a store for like $20. I mean, it's a white label promo.
Oh, that's great.
Which is really cool.
Yep.
On the Reprise label. But anyway, yeah, I love Jimi Hendrix and always, have collected different albums. But I love Axis probably is actually my favorite Jimi album.
Yeah.
But I don't have a promo of that one, but I have a promo of this one.
On the
so
list.
I thought this would be cool. So that was fun to find.
Right on.
Yeah.
So when you go into a local record store, do you find yourself asking the shop owners if they have any promos? Because typically that stuff's not going to be out in the shelves,
Right. And in the case of that was just flipping through, and the guy had it just, in rock and just had it priced like a normal record, really. Nothing. I don't know if you maybe.
I wonder if those days are numbered where you're going to find something like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's going a ways back,
Yeah,
one of those cool finds. Won't be able to find it for the, $15 or whatever I paid for it,
Yeah. Right on. Well, that's cool.
Another one of those stories going in. I've been looking for this forever, and this actually happened just a couple of years ago, and it went into a vintage stock we have here in Oklahoma City. I don't know if you guys have those in
I mean, nothing but what is it? Is it like
it's a chain, right? And I forget, it's called something else maybe in your. It's sort of like a half price books, right? But only this is like, it has used records and has old video games and DVDs, CDs, and stuff. Anyway, I went in there and I've been looking for this, and this was the Mofi Dark Side of the Moon.
Yep.
And I couldn't believe this. Beautiful condition, and $19.
Oh God.
It was crazy. It was like 2 years ago.
It's quite crazy how much the prices have fluctuated.
Yeah.
I bought that record probably 3-4 years ago, definitely pre-pandemic. And I think I paid $50 or $75 for it, but now I see that record go for $150, $200 all day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Which is kind of the way things have rolled the last couple of years, for sure, as you know.
Sure. And I don't know if they had this mispriced or, I don't know how it happened, because this really isn't that long ago.
Yeah. Someone who didn't know what that little yellow ribbon at the top didn't know what it meant. They just thought it was a regular copy of Dark Side, which is, a $20, $25 record or something like that in decent condition. But love to hear it, man. It's still out there. Yeah,
just a cool find. And I love those. Like you said, they're not as, frequent as they used to be. But if you can still walk in and find that cool find, I still love the dig. That's the most fun. Now, this one is actually one of my favorite all-time albums, and I've kept this since the old days. And this is a promo version of Deftones' White Pony.
God, you got the red version?
This is the red vinyl version. This is the promo.
That is awesome.
And this is going back to...
I've always wanted. I've never seen a copy. I mean, this is as in the flesh as I'll get to seeing a copy, probably.
It's so cool. So this goes back to the Nixons label days and...
MCA.
And MCA, and I don't know how it would have worked, because I don't know if they were distributed by Uni at the time, the same distribution. But the guy knew that me and Jesse were fans. Jesse got one too. I think Jesse's copy, if he still has it, was signed. Oh shit! Was signed by the band, and then I grabbed this one, and I've had it the entire time.
I love it.
It's so cool. So it comes in this plastic sleeve.
So unique.
So cool. And this just plain white jacket that the records are housed in. And then it has a lyric, just an insert sheet. It has some
it's not
lyrics.
even a promo, is it? It was just like the first pressing they did of it.
Right. I mean, when you look on Discogs, they're calling it a promo.
Oh, they are. Okay. Either
They
way.
do, but there's nothing noted on it as promo or, yeah.
And so I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that record probably came out, what, 2001?
2000.
2000, yeah. So that, I mean, that is dark days of vinyl right there.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's nobody producing vinyl. So the fact that the label actually, you know, put that out, and especially for a band like that, which at that time, I mean, they were popular, but not mainstream. I mean, they're not selling tons and tons of albums at that point. So that's what always surprises me. If there was someone at the label still, even in 2000, that had an appreciation for vinyl. To let the band, you know, probably came from the band, honestly, but to even let them do it, which always surprises me. And I'm just thankful for it, you know, because there's some cool stuff.
Right. And I watched a great video that you did talking about, you know, not taking any of your records for granted, you know, always take care of them. And this is a perfect example of, I got this at a time when I didn't have a turntable anymore. I listened to this album primarily on CD back in the day, and I just simply kept it and stored it away, and have never let go of it. And to see it now, just the value of it, it's one of my favorite albums. I listen to it now, of course, but I just hung on to it, you know, took care of it, put it away, but just, you know, it was a cool thing. I'm glad I kept it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a super rare item. Super rare.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it. That's awesome. And and to your point about the music, talk about a phenomenal album.
Yeah, just I love that was
I'm not even a huge Deftones fan, like, but I own that. I own I own White Pony because it's the epic for that time period. And I don't know if they've topped it. I'm sure if some huge Deftones fans could say they, you know, topped it with other stuff, but to me, that's the one. So
for me too. For Deftones, that's it. That's the album.
Right on. All right.
All right. So I was pretty proud to get this. A friend of mine owns a record store in Detroit, and he knew that this was on my want list, and he called to let me know he got a cool collection in. And, you know, I did have to pay a little bit for it, but this is a great version of this album. And you have to have it. And this is the Mofi Nevermind. And it sounds amazing. Sounds freaking amazing. And I wanted a good version of this album. Yeah, this is the one to get. And he gave me a great deal on it. It wasn't cheap, but it wasn't, you know, some of the crazy prices that it's going for. But I was really happy to get this. I love Mofi albums. I have several in my collection, but
that's a big one, and that's one of those. I mean, obviously, it being such an iconic album, there's so much debate about all the different pressings of that record.
Right.
The original pressings versus that Mofi, which I believe was maybe 10 years after or something like that. It didn't come out in the very early days. So there's always different, you know, you can go to YouTube and search for like what they call shootout videos. Showing all the pressings.
Yeah.
And it's highly debatable.
Right.
Which pressing of Nevermind is the perfect mastering and the perfect cut, all that. But the Mofi is always in contention. That one definitely on my Mofi want list as well. These days, it's getting hard, man. It's getting hard. By spending, you know, $500 on an album. It's like at a certain point, you got to draw a line, you know?
Yeah, you do. You do. And it's hard, man.
It's very,
and very expensive.
Yes, it's an expensive hobby, especially when you're talking about records like that.
Yeah, you know, and I've got one in college and another one headed that way. Sometimes you have to go, well, maybe not this time.
Well, tell me if you always use this excuse. It's an investment, though. It's the best excuse like you'd ever sell that album. You know?
I used to. And then my wife, Jennifer, now she's just like, don't BS me. You're never going to sell this.
I know.
If you could take it with you, you would. You know?
It's a great way to justify it in your mind when you're at the record store, though, or you're looking at this and you're like, if I ever need to sell it, I know I can get the money back. Like, never happened.
Exactly.
We've all done that. All right, what else you got?
All right. Speaking of the great 90s, and I would pick up albums from time to time back then, and thank God I hung on to them. But I also had this on CD, but Super Unknown. Right. And mine is
it the blue, the orange, or the clear?
It's the orange.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
I love to see it.
That's awesome. So, yeah, anytime a record store would have, and I mean, we're talking about at less than a handful of vinyl at times.
Yep.
I remember this being there, and I'm like, I'm glad it was one of those. I didn't have a turntable. I don't think I opened it until about 10 years ago. I mean,
Yeah.
it just stayed sealed, and yeah, because I started to see on Discogs there were different colors, and there's nothing. I don't think that indicates even what color you get.
No, I think I don't remember. So I've got a copy of this. I'm gonna step off camera real quick to get it. I've got the blue version.
Okay.
And I have that orange version. And then I have a second copy of the orange version, and that's because it's on my wall.
Right.
Signed by Chris.
Oh, wow.
Which is really cool.
That's awesome.
And you
that's
can't see it 'cause it's covered up, but on the other side, it says, I think it says "You Rock" GI or whatever he signed.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
When did you have him sign that?
This was at a show in the early 2000s when he was touring solo and came through town.
Wow.
And a friend of a friend had worked with Chris and got me on the list to go backstage and shake his hand.
Beautiful. So that's awesome, man.
Huge Super Unknown fan.
Yeah.
As far as iconic 90s albums are concerned, that
right.
Bigger than that. So yeah, I'm a massive Soundgarden fan and glad to have that one.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that album. That's the Soundgarden album for me too.
It really is.
Love that one.
All right, let's see what else you got.
Okay. So anybody that knows me knows that I'm a big Kiss fan. And this was really hard to do.
First of all, how many Kiss records do you have? Like hundreds?
I mean, yeah.
Because there are that many. There's
and I collect Kiss from all over the world. I actually sometimes do a podcast. There's a Facebook group called Kiss My Wax, and they'll do podcasts from time to time, and we'll do vinyl featuring, maybe just the Japanese stuff or stuff from Mexico, stuff from the UK, US pressings, promos, and so on. And so, yeah, I love Kiss, and that's like one of my hardcore completist sort of stuff, on that.
Gotta be hard.
I dig that. Yeah, and I've been doing that forever. And yes, it's hard. There's a lot of stuff.
So when you thought of your Kiss collection, was this the first one you thought of, or did you have to because obviously you didn't want to choose 8 Kiss albums out of your 10 tonight.
Right. And it was really hard because my first album was Kiss Alive, but I don't really have anything spectacular. I have a promo copy. I have red vinyl from the UK, different things, but I'm like, well, so I'll go with this. So if anybody knows the Kiss story, they had 3 studio albums they initially released that didn't do very well. They put out a live album. It had Rock and Roll All Night on it, and that's what took off for them. And from there on, the next album was Destroyer, and they had Detroit Rock City and Beth, and then it became this sort of iconic band of the 70s.
Then they became Kiss at that point.
Then they became Kiss. But their first 3 albums are really unique. It's almost like garage rock stuff, man. It's pretty rough. It's not a lot of overdubs. I really like them. And the first 3 albums are Kiss, Hotter Than Hell, and Dressed to Kill. So when Alive broke huge and then Destroyer broke huge, they repackaged those first 3 albums in a kit, in a set, a little mini box set they called the Originals, which I wanted one so badly when I was a kid. My parents at times would just, look, we can't afford that, or no, we can't do this. I had a friend down the street who had it. I would go to his house to listen to it. He would play it. I would beg him to let me borrow it. No, my mom says, but you can come here and listen, the whole thing. I wanted this album forever. Finally, I was able to get one, and subsequently have bought different ones from different countries and blah, blah, blah. This one's special to me because it's sealed, which is kind of cool, right? I have a few sealed ones. Yes, I do collect sealed albums, and I know albums are meant to be played, and I do have albums that I play, but I have some albums that I keep sealed. And what's really cool is I met Gene and Paul, and I had them sign it for me.
Oh, beautiful.
And it's the Originals.
That's cool.
And it was really cool. And Gene was kind of funny about it. He was like, this isn't opened. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, do you want us to sign right on the plastic? And I went, yeah, please. And he went into this whole thing about, at the time, this album must be 22 years old. This is amazing. This is still, you know, he just went into this whole thing and then signed it. And but anyway, I was real excited about that.
That's
So
awesome. So you had him sign on the shrink.
I did. It signed on the shrink.
That is very cool. How many times have you met those guys? Have you crossed? I mean, I know you got to play shows with them way back in the day.
Yeah, which I have, you know, some. I'll grab something real quick.
Yeah. This video just turned into like, right now we're at 30 minutes and it's probably going to be an hour and 30 minutes because we're talking about Kiss now.
So, right, the Nixons got to open for Kiss on the reunion tour, of course, and I took advantage of the time and had them sign a few things for me, like the first album.
Oh, great.
You know, had it signed in a big poster and several different things. I got quite a bit signed. I did take advantage of that situation, but
you got to.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan, and that was really the first band for me as a kid. I mean, that's really what set me off. With being a little kid, I was like the right age at the right time. And I got into that band, and then that sort of was my gateway into music, into rock music. And
that's great, man. That's great that you got to actually meet those guys and cross paths with them. That's super fun. Yeah.
Very cool. I like a lot of different stuff, right? We were talking a little bit, going back and forth on Messenger. Mm-hmm. You know, I love classic Motown. I love R&B. I love 70s soul. You know, I like a lot of different stuff. And we had talked about this. This is truly one of my favorite albums. And I showed it to you before, but this is my Ultra Disc One Step of Marvin Gaye, What's Going On. And I just love this album.
Beautiful record.
And and this sounds amazing. But yeah, and I you know, when I get into an album and I really like it, I'll have variations. I mean, my wife is like, "Why do you have the same album 8 different times?" You know?
Yeah.
Well, you don't understand. This is a first press. This is from the UK. This is the '84 reissue. This is the Ultra Disc One. You know, and my wife's just like going, "What?"
So at what point? So here's the question, because I have my own answer. I remember, and it wasn't that far back, you had mentioned that like 8-10 years ago is when you started really ramping up your collecting, which again, in a lot of ways mirrors my timeline as well. But I can remember even just handfuls of years ago, I don't know, let's say 5 years ago, vividly telling myself, I'm never going to be that guy. I'm never going to be the guy who has like 5 copies of an album, because I was like, why would you ever do that? And now look at us. Like, do you remember being that guy as well? Or have you always been a did you always collect?
No.
Okay.
No, I wasn't always that. Well, I guess yes and no. I mean, if I really love an album, maybe I could even explain it early on. Like, well, this one's a little different to the one I have. I don't know. Yeah. But I would say not always. It's definitely been because of a lot of the Facebook groups, and I've learned Discogs has educated me, you know, and you find out in some cases certain reissues are more valuable than the originals. I just love the hunt. Like, okay, I gotta find that.
I think you make a great point. To me, I guess if I think it's because I wasn't educated. Like if I think back 10 years, like I mean, I kind of knew the difference between an original and a reissue, obviously at the surface level, but I had no idea. Again, Discogs app and all that, I had no idea that there were 500 different versions of the White Album. Like I didn't even consciously understand that. So I think once you start to understand that and you go deeper in the hobby, just educating yourself, then it's a lot easier to go down that hole and be like, oh man, I really need this one because it's on color or because it was unique in this way or all that. So I think it's just a part. It's for me, it's just kind of an evolution of collecting. Like it's kind of inevitable. Like if you love an album and there's a different one, if you have the space, because it does start to depend on space too. It's kind of to that point now where it's like, okay, if I'm going to keep a 5th version of this one, I got to get rid of something else, Right. A little purging session kind of, needs to be. In fact, I'm kind of doing a little one now. So that happens, I get loaded and I'm like, okay, something's got to give, Yep. Been there. Okay. Cool. Good to know I'm not alone.
You are not, my friend. Not at all. So even before Kiss, I did say they were sort of my first really rock band, but the first record I ever had as a kid, and my mom's really more Beatles generation, right? So I have no idea where I got this, but I loved Elvis as a kid. And I couldn't even tell you why. I mean, I guess my dad liked him, but I mean, I don't know if I saw him on TV. I don't know really what I mean, we're talking, I had a portable record player. I think it was like a GE. I mean, this little record player I would take with me to my grandparents. I would carry it around. And I had a handful of records. Some were like the typical kid records, right? Like Disney story 45s with the, when you hear the bell, turn the page kind of stuff. And I had an Elvis record my aunt got me for my birthday. Loved it. And so I've always been a big Elvis fan. So along with Kiss, now I don't collect worldwide on Elvis, but I'm,
Oh God,
I'm very picky about condition on things, right?
you think there's a lot of Kiss records? Let's talk about Elvis.
Elvis, yeah, exactly right. I mean, Elvis is like unbelievable. So I just, the US alone is enough. I have a few Japanese, but just the US, and then trying to get like close to dead mint copies as possible, because I'm just like that. So I'll find some upgraded.
There were millions of them made, but finding
millions, right?
The condition is not easy because
it's a whole nother story. Yeah,
everyone played the hell out of them and used them because it was Elvis, so everyone had them. So
right. So I thought I would never own actually a good one of this. I wanted one when I was old enough to realize, okay, so if you want Elvis, you want the 50s stuff. The 50s stuff's where it's at. And a beautiful copy of his first album.
Love it.
Mono.
Still in string?
For RCA. It's still in the baggie.
Oh, man. With the price on there, too.
Yeah, look at that. $398. Actually, it's discounted. Let's see. $247.
$247. What a deal. What an iconic album
on the RCA label. Yeah. So yeah, and that's a like you said, there's millions, hundreds of these, and they're usually beat to crap, man.
Yeah.
And it's just so hard to find really nice ones.
Yeah, especially those 50s.
Yeah, especially the 50s one.
Yeah, when you get into the 70s stuff, like there's so many of them that you can find, but going way back.
Yeah.
I can attest. Beat up copies of that record.
Right. And what's amazing about these to me, man, is this album is, I mean, what is it? It's, almost 20 years older, more than 20 years older than I am, but it still sounds amazing. Something that was made in the 50s is still can, be a great source of entertainment. I mean, it sounds fantastic. I think it's amazing to me. It's a time capsule. It's a literal time capsule, and you're curating this your own little museum of music. And I think it's amazing. Something that was here long before I was here, I have now, and I can listen and enjoy, and it sounds amazing. I just think it's so cool.
It takes you back to that room where, I don't know if you recorded that at Sun or wherever, like, it was like literally that studio, straight to tape, straight to cutting it, like there was no degradation of sound.
No.
There was no loss of quality and all that, which especially in a record like that.
Right.
If you're going to talk about a vintage sounding record and a vintage sound, like that's kind of the opinion of it. So that's very cool.
And an amazing thing about the quality of workmanship that went into pressing those records. I've seen some that are really banged up and they still play amazingly. I mean, they can look like a freaking car backed over and they can still sound. I mean, it just blows me away. The craftsmanship that went into even manufacturing those back then, just beautifully done work. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Work of art.
It's not lost on me. I will say that for sure.
Yeah. All right, what else we got left?
Okay, so my final is the biggie. And I knew about this record going, all the way back. Like if you're a record collector, this is one you want to try to find, and I've wanted it forever. I'm a Beatles fan. We both are. I mean, we both love Beatles, and I have a lot of different Beatles stuff, a lot of different collectible things, but this is the one I wanted forever. Found it at a local record store, and I had it professionally peeled to make. So this is a stereo third state Butcher.
Beautiful.
That I had peeled. And the guy was able to save the original slick.
Oh,
it all came off in one piece.
That's an incredible peel.
Yeah, it had just a little bit of ring wear here at the top and bottom. I have a beautiful second state mono, but I'm just leaving that alone. This one had enough wear that I'm like, maybe I'll get this one peeled. It might be cool. And the stereos, for some reason on this, are a lot harder to find.
That
The monos were much more. So a guy by the name of Gary Hine, amazingly did this job. It took him like 4 or 5 months. Mine's at LA printing, and he said that the glue that they used was just industrial. So everybody knows this story, right? So this band cover, first they ordered them destroyed, and then they decided they could save money by just plastering another slick, this slick over the top of it. And people figured out, you could see underneath, there was a photo underneath. A lot of people would peel it, try to peel it themselves, tear them up, destroy them or whatever. But anyway, I knew from, I want to say the 80s, and that, you know, a butcher, you got to find, and you know,
find the butcher cover.
You got to find the butcher.
You always look for Ringo's triangle. You look for Ringo's.
That's it.
Sweater. That's the
exactly that neck piece. That
obvious
kind of show through.
Identifier.
Yeah.
Very cool. And you mentioned the guy's name who peeled it. I know there's an entire community of people who deal with that. And you mentioned the glue. I was going to go there as well, because I know like the different pressing. They've even tracked down like the specific type of glue that was used on the different pressing, because you have to pair that with the right solvent so that it'll better.
Right.
Beyond me, and it's amazing.
It is. And you know, the guy, it took him a long time. And he would give me an update. He would show it about a quarter of the way, halfway, because he would work on it meticulously and then leave it. And he was like, "You have the LA pressing. It's so hard, very difficult." And I was like, so stressed. Like
based on the glue.
Yeah, based on the glue. And you're like, awesome, great. Is this going to be shredded? Is this even going to be worth it? He goes, no, trust me, this will be great. And
got it off in one piece, too.
One piece, and it's so amazing. It's like, I know it's hard to see, but it's like strips of tape in order to keep it maybe in a piece as he peeled it off.
Okay, so it's a process where they keep it together. Okay,
right. I'd love to see what he does, but it was incredible.
That's fascinating. Good for you, man. I'm glad. I don't have one of those in my collection. Someday, maybe. I'm hoping to just hit the thrift store.
You will.
Maybe find it. You know.
Yeah.
Always
you will.
Triangle. Was that your last one? You finished on the butcher cover?
That was it. That was my 10. And it was again so hard. If you catch me tomorrow, it would probably be another 10. You know,
I totally understand. I have since I've been doing so much of these videos, the whole listicle, the top 10, the top 5, like that's obviously such a big thing. But man, it's hard, whether it's this topic or any. I'll sit down and think of, I need to do a top 10 of this. And then I'm like, well, crap, now I got to actually figure out which albums I'm going to pick. That's the hard part. Like, coming up with the ideas is simple. But going into your collection and making decisions, even though it shouldn't be difficult, it certainly feels difficult.
It does.
You don't want to hurt anybody's feelings up on the wall, you know?
Right. I know. Right. I care about all of it. I have it for a reason. I love it all.
Yep. I'm with you, man. Well, that was an amazing selection of 10. I'm going to have to go back and watch the video, and I'll put this in the cheat sheet for people to see. But man, pull out that Deftones. That was solid. The butcher cover and the signed Kiss. That's some good work, man.
Thanks.
I'll give you an A+ on your choices.
I appreciate it. Nice. Nice. This was fun, man.
Yes, this is super fun. We'll have to do it again at some point. We'll do a different listicle and come back. That way you can pick your collection some more. But yeah, I really appreciate the time. I'm glad I could catch you when you're not out on tour, because I know once that ramps up, it's a lot harder to nail you down. But I appreciate you dedicating the time and talking records. I love doing it, and I can tell you do as well. So it's a bonus for me.
Thanks, man. I appreciate this.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for watching. Again, my name is G.I. Sanders. This has been John Humphrey and talking about records from NTX Vinyl. We will talk to you again soon. Thank you so much, and have a great day.